In this page, we show the general architecture of DBMS, the system. The system can be very complicated. So you still need to remember the system is still software, it's running on a computer. Therefore, you can see at the bottom, it's based on some storage space we have in the machine or in a computer. It can be your hard drive. Inside this storage space, we save lots of data. We have all the data, all the metadata, all the index, logs, everything will be stored in the storage space. Then in the system, we have different functional components to handle different kinds of queries, transactions, and DDL commands. So what's the difference between query and the transaction? You can understand in this way. Transaction denotes a sequence of queries executing certain functions. And we can provide a definition of transaction later. So once a query comes in, the DBMS will have some components handling them. For example, the first one will be the query parser. When a query comes in, we need to parse the query into some language the machine can understand. Since the query may be not perfect, and the system will have a query rewriter and optimizer to change the query into some much better formats. And after we do the optimization, we will execute the query with the query executor. However, the query executor doesn't interact with the storage space directly. It interacts with the records and the index tables. Records denotes the data tuples we have in the tables, and index denotes some data structures we maintain in the system to help us exceed or speed up the execution process. We'll cover both of them later in the course. Then we have a buffer manager and a storage manager interacts with the storage space for us when executing the queries. And when a transaction comes in, the process will be very similar. We have one transaction manager, which will translate the transaction into multiple queries, and then we go to the query processing as well. And when the DDL commands comes in, we have a DDL processor, and we translate the commands into some queries as well, and then execute them. Besides these kinds of functional components for handling different kinds of inputs from the users, inside the DBMS we also have one concurrency control component and one login recovery component. These kinds of components can be very important to handling the multiple user accessing as well as system failures or crashes. And the system is running based on the memory as well. And inside this memory, we have different data structures to help us speed up the execution process of a DBMS. And you may also wonder who will be the users. Actually, besides the human being, the users, we can also have different kinds of applications or web forms as a user as well. So the user will be a very general term for the DBMS. So here the DBA denotes a database administrator. It is someone who is responsible for maintaining the DBMS. So for the DBMS, we need to have some language to handle with it, especially to handle with the schema and the data. Generally, to set up a schema or to change schemas, we need to have some language. It's called DDL, or data definition language. It covers all the commands required to setting up a schema for database systems. It also allows us to change the schema as well. Meanwhile, to handle with the data we have, we need to have another language. It's called DML, or data manipulation language. It covers all the commands to manipulate data we have in the DBMS. And you may wonder what's the difference between DDL, DML versus the SQL you may have heard before. So SQL is a commercial language. It covers both DDL and DML language inside it. In other words, with SQL, we can do both data definition as well as data manipulation. We'll show this later in the following slides when we talk about SQL. And you may also wonder who will be the people involved in DBMS. Besides the regular user we mentioned in the previous pages, we can have different kinds of people or different roles for people to play in the DBMS. As we mentioned before, the DBMS users, besides the human users, we can also treat these programs and applications as the users as well. And they can execute the queries or modify the data we have in the system. Besides the users, we can also have a DBMS application designer. And they are responsible for setting up a schema, loads data into the system. And they are the person responsible for designing the application-specific tables or schemas we have in the system. Besides them, we can also have a DBMS administrator or the DBA we showed in the previous page. And they are responsible for the user management and performance tuning. In addition, we can also have a DBMS implementer. They are the people who are responsible for building the system or building the software. If in the future you will go to the Oracle or the IBM DB2 teams, then you will be the person who implementing the DBMS. Okay, this is pretty much all we have for the introduction section. Besides the materials we have covered, we also have some suggestions for you about how to get the most out of this course. So you need to read the textbooks. It is very important. And also think before class. And if you have any questions, you can send me emails or go to my office hours, go to the TA office hours, and ask a question, propose your concerns. It's very important for you to learn for this course. And you can also form some study groups with your peers to discuss the readings to enhance their understandings. And you can also discuss assignments, of course, but please do the assignments by yourself. And you can use these lectures as a guidance for you to read the textbook. And the lecture slides can be used as a roadmap about which one or which materials can be most important in the textbooks. However, the lectures are just the starting points. They cannot cover everything. So you need to read the textbooks. It is very important. So also be active in participating in the projects. Projects is a great opportunity for you to practice your knowledge you learn from the course. Generally, everything we learn from the course, you need to practice them one by one in your projects. So please do check back the slides and textbooks when you are doing the projects. Okay, so that's it for the introduction section. And welcome to let me know if you have any questions. You can send me emails, go to my office hours. And you can also contact the TAs if you have any concerns in your mind. Thanks for your attention, and we'll go to the section 2 very soon.